Poetic beats. Poetic beats. Poetic beats.
Welcome to the classroom. Class is officially in session. Hello, hello, hello. It's me, the one and only Dark Lord 100, or otherwise known as Double KK Double, otherwise known, as those two. And I am one of two of your hosts here this evening for yet another episode of First GenXers Presents the Classroom. The My fellow host for the third week in a row, the one and only O'Malley. What's up? What's up?
What's up?
Not much. So it's a situation where you guys see what we're going to be talking about today, and we have a brand new segment to end the show tonight that I hope you'll thoroughly enjoy. We called it The Rise of O'Malley, and I will see exactly how she blows your mind tonight. All right, so let's talk about this first segment that we're going to go into here. North Carolina or South Carolina beats Iowa 87-75. Caitlin Clark threw 30 points at it. Martin threw another 16. It just wasn't enough. Cardoso for South Carolina was a beast with 17 rebounds and 15 points. Johnson ended up with 19 points. The Gamecocks completed a perfect season, 38-0, and win the school's third title. Iowa loses back-to-back title games, the only two that the school has ever been in, to close out Clark's NBA career, or NCAA career. As we both know, she is going to be going to the WNBA next season. So, we are here to talk about the Gamecocks' perfect season and what that kind of means for that school, as well as she put up a hell of a performance. So can we really put it on Caitlin Clark, the fact that they lost, or was it just that she didn't have enough around her? O'Malley, I turn over the floor to you.
I mean, in a lot of ways, I don't really feel like they lost. I feel like South Carolina won. Like, I feel like that was that game, and the heart, like, on both teams, it just, on Iowa's part, just wasn't quite enough. But I don't think it's because they had mishaps. It's not because they got beat, right? It's because they went out there and they played. It's just South Carolina played a little bit better that day. And I mean, I had mixed feelings because I wanted to see Caitlin Clark win one, but I also wanted to see like South Carolina with a perfect season all the way front to back, right? Especially being a Warriors fan who we broke records, right? And then we ended up losing that year. And that's heart-wrenching, right? I mean, ask Tom Brady, right? Went undefeated in the season to lose the Super Bowls. So like it was cool to be able to see them say that, but it was kind of, I was really hoping for Caitlin Clark, especially once USC was done and gotten beat by UConn, right? Congratulations to USC though this year in Juju in her freshman year. But I was kind of sad to see Caitlin Clark not win it, especially knowing that because Iowa progressed so far and because the timing, she's also on top of that not going to be part of the Olympic team this year. So I feel like that would have been a blow that had been softened if they had at least won. But they have nothing to be ashamed of. They both had great seasons, both teams. South Carolina just they're consistent, and they were able to keep the consistency over the entire season. So it was a pretty great game to watch. A really good March Madness for the women in general. It was very fun to watch. Actually, I preferred watching that this season than the men's. If I'm being entirely honest, like I paid more attention to the women than I did the men.
The thing about it is that I completely 1000% like am on your side that the women's Final Four alone with South Carolina and I believe it was oh god, who did South Carolina beat? It was another team that was like up and coming. It was NC State. And then Iowa and UConn. That was an epic battle, between Clark and can't wait to see both of those young ladies in the WNBA.
And Brecker.
Paige Beckers, yeah,
Yeah. Like that almost to me in that moment felt like, are we watching the champion? Is this the real championship game right now? And had South Carolina not come along and played the way they did, that very much might have been. But UConn also being the school that it is.
like basically, I think the last team that we saw go undefeated um, in in a whole season back to back was UConn. Was Gino Ariema's UConn, and that's the thing with it. Like that team is to like we said last week. That team is college basketball, or women's college basketball.
Isn't he the winningest coach in women's college basketball?
No, I believe it was. I want to say it's not Vanderveer. Um, he might be, but I want to
At
say
least
that.
when it comes to post
Yeah,
regular season.
yeah, like NCAA record, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I'm pretty sure he owns every record when it comes to that.
Like 23 Final Four appearances, something ungodly, like 11 years, and like just some ungodly statistics.
It genuinely surprises me that no WNBA team has tried to slide. Like I'm pretty sure they probably tried to snatch him up, but like he wants to stay at UConn.
I also imagine, I hate to say this, but I was talking to my dude about this earlier. We were talking about how WNBA players need to be paid,
Yeah,
right? But I imagine it's probably the same with their coaches. He's probably making more at UConn than he ever would going into, like, he's making more at UConn than WNBA players are making playing basketball. So that could be it, because we were talking about that. That's why a lot of the women, they get tired quick, because a lot of them have to play year round
yeah,
to keep that financial stream going.
yeah.
So like these
Hence
women,
Brittany Griner going to Russia.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and see look what happens, right?
yeah,
Right. And so I think, I'm hopeful with Caitlin Clark coming in, and like how she is to watch, and she reminds me a lot of Steph,
yeah,
right? So it's like she, I think, has the ability possibly to shine more light and bring more viewers into the WNBA. And so I'll be really interested to see her career. I know Lisa Leslie was actually fighting to get her to like them to make an exception to allow her to be part of the women's Olympic team, and she said she should be on the team. We should not leave the country without her.
without
Right?
her.
So, I mean, she's got it, it's she's one of those players that you wished that the women's prospects were better going into the NBA, because she's a player that if she was a male going into the NBA,
Yeah,
her
number one draft pick,
financial
easy.
prospects,
Yeah,
her marketing, her, endorsements, that is one area that she'll probably like make up for some of the WNBA money not being all that. She should get some pretty significant endorsement money.
100%. 100%. Like, and like I said, that's the thing with her. Like I said, you got her. You got I believe Angel Reese said she was declaring for the WNBA draft as well. So again, that's another rivalry. Like the I've said this for a long time, and I've said that they've had it a few times, and I don't under. This has always been my thing about. I don't understand why there is a lack of interest in the WNBA, because you had names like Breonna Taylor, you had names like Deanna Taurasi, all playing, and Lisa Leslie. You had them all playing in the league before. When the league was first coming up, and it's like, how could you not, like, these women were amazing to watch in college? How could you not want to watch them compete against each other in the pros? Was beyond me, because but there was a lack of interest there, obviously, because the league itself ended up getting subsumed into the NBA, and is basically right now being propped up. But I also say this: we all need, as much as I love to champion for saying that we need to definitely support the W. I'm gonna call my own card and say it. Time for me to start buying some Monarch tickets, or, like, what I'm saying, going to some games, maybe buying a jersey here and there.
Right. Yeah.
Support them. You want, if we want women to get paid, if we want women to have their league have more eyes, support them.
That's how it happens,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, we see that it's not dissimilar to what we see go on in soccer, right? Is like it, the women get a lot of focus outside of the professional
Yeah.
arena. Like when you're talking about the US women's team soccer gets way more respect than the US men's team soccer.
Yeah.
But when you go over to the professional side of things, it's the men's soccer that they get paid, they
Yeah.
get the respect. And so you see that with basketball too, right? Because a lot of people love watching these women in college,
Yeah.
sometimes more than the men, but it almost feels like it flip-flops once it goes to NBA and
W. Yeah.
WNBA.
I it's I've always said this. I think the WNBA would have been an instant success if, instead of trying to be its own league, right? Instead of trying to do its own thing, that um, they had basically a WNBA team linked to every NBA team. In every city where there is an NBA team, there is a WNBA team. You know what I'm saying? And I don't see why, like, other than Billionaire Boys Club not wanting to share arena space and so on and so forth, and maybe marketing and so on and so forth. But other than that obvious answer, like, I didn't see a reason why they couldn't have made that work, and I think that it would have allowed the WNBA to flourish in ways that it never could have, starting out as being a league of its own. Like, as great of an idea as that was, I don't think there was enough of a groundswell of support for women's basketball at that time to support a league on its own. But if you drop a female, or if you drop a WNBA team in LA, there's one. There's one for the Clippers, there's one for the Lakers, there's one for the Warriors, there's one for
Mm-hmm.
the Kings, there's one for
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, or whatever the next team, wherever there's a team, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, all have WNBA teams. And yeah, they sort of followed that marketing, but they didn't take it to the level that I'm thinking of, which is every
Right.
NBA team
Right.
across the
Right.
nation has a WNBA team linked to it.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
It would have been better for marketing, because like there has been some pretty dope ass women playing basketball that I don't think got, that a lot of people don't even have any clue about.
none
Right?
whatsoever. None.
because like it's not advertised. Like even people who don't know about basketball, right, aren't huge basketball fans, know who Steph Curry is,
Right.
know who LeBron James is, know who Kobe was,
Kobe
right?
Bryant. Yep.
Jordan, like that's you know those no matter if you live under a rock and hate basketball,
You
like
know those
you
names.
know who
Yep.
they are. You don't really get that as much with the women, and the ones that people know a lot have to do with either because they super paid attention throughout college or because of like during the Olympics and when the women's team is playing and you get to see like the different women who are playing on some of those teams play. But it's not one of those things that they've become household for
Names.
everybody,
Right.
just like the men's league has.
And like I said, a lot of that, like I feel like a lot of that has to do with the lack of connection that the NBA made to the WNBA upon its arrival in the or in the stratosphere or whatever in the world, you know. But all right, so we're gonna move forward on that note to our next subject, which is the boys. The boys had a pretty interesting little thing happen over there that hasn't happened since '06, '07, or oh sorry, '05, '06, and then '06, '07. So, and that is UConn got themselves a nice big W in the men's national title game. Newton with 20 points. Let's see, Castle with 15 points to UConn. Yep. They did have a year though where the men and the women both won it in the same year. I remember that. Zach Eady from Purdue. Yeah, yeah. North NC State had their men's and women's team in the Final Four. Uh, UConn won back-to-back titles. That's the first since Florida with Billy Donovan and them boys in '05, '06, and '06, '07. And then Purdue loses the second title game that it's ever had in its history. And now we get, like I said, history in UConn. The boys, not the girls. Unfortunately, they were bounced in the Final Four, but UConn men winning back to back. Here's the thing about it. I was more aware of the fact that UConn didn't make the national title game last year, the Huskies, the female Huskies, than I was that the men won the title last year. Like it wasn't until I was watching like First Take one morning or like Get Up, and they were like, "Yeah, do you think UConn can win back to back?" I was like, "Back to back? They won last year? Oh wow, okay, all right, cool, back to back, yeah." So your thoughts on UConn in their second championship in 2 years? I believe it's their fifth for their school.
Well, I'm gonna go back to I paid a lot more attention to the women than I did the men. I don't know what it was, but this year, like, and maybe because we started off March Madness with no UCLA, no USC, and
Yeah.
just kind of like okay, whatever, right? And then the fact that USC women went as far as the Elite Eight. On the women's side, it just the women were so much more entertaining and fun to watch. Like the the guy, like the men's NCAA basketball tournament, it's getting kind of tired.
There's a certain level of truth to it. And I think here's the thing about it. And I've said this about the NBA and even the NFL. Okay, you've got 30 teams in the NFL. 14 now make the playoffs.
Right.
So you don't have to be anything above average in order to potentially make the playoffs. In the NBA, 32 teams. Actually now 20 make the playoffs because it's ten each. The top
Are,
10
are
in
we
each thing do the
are we
play in.
counting the counting the play in? Because
Yeah,
technically
so
the play in you're playing into the playoffs, so it's
right.
not technically.
So
But
16 make the playoffs. So 20 compete, 16 make the playoffs.
right,
Um, right, and so like NCAA is getting to that what I call tipping point of 50+% of the schools that exist because there are what 117 Division One NCAA basketball schools, and now they're talking about expanding. Like they're already at 68.
Yeah, and see, they're talking about expanding the wrong sport. They need to keep expanding college football playoffs because
Yeah,
even the coming expansion is not enough. Like the fact that the NCAA football championships and the playoffs doesn't at least look like NFL playoffs
yeah,
to me is absurd. When you've got 841 50,000 different NCAA teams, and you've got what 32 NFL teams.
32. Yeah,
So like it doesn't make it make sense. It doesn't.
it doesn't.
And everybody's like, well, to me, it's still no different than the BCS because it's still a popularity
Yeah,
contest when you get to okay, who's because there have been teams who didn't make it that should have.
yep.
And I'll say at least with basketball, they've got it a little more right, but like it just
My
it's
idea for football has always been this: it should that top 25 should mean something. Okay, and what I mean by that is you can say 25, 26, however you want to lay out the bracket. But those teams should be the teams that are in the hunt and screw if you won your conference, screw like I just make it flat and even. If you're in the top 25, you're in the final brackets for the national championship. And then it's a one-off tournament from there. You know what I'm saying? And you spread it out through all the bowls over bowl weeks. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And then a few
I
bowls that are
mean,
left.
Lord knows there's 254,000 of those things.
Exactly. And so the remaining bowls can take up the remaining, kind of like the NIT does. You know, the
Yeah,
NIT is that side tournament that kind of takes up the teams
yeah,
that couldn't make it into the NCAA tournament. But there ain't gonna be
yeah.
that many teams that can't make it in if they keep expanding. Um, but and so at the end of the day, I'm like,
NIT tournaments like, no, you're screwing with our shit now.
thank you. I'm like, and so just I'm like, just if you're in the top 25, you're in the tournament. Like well, if the Pac-12 still existed, that would have helped out teams like from the Pac-12 because they seem to be able to make it into the top 25, but can't seem to make it into the whatchamacallit, into the actual playoff, despite being a Power Five conference. So but at the end of the day, I'm just saying, like, to me, that made the most sense, and they never went that route. Now we've got this silly BCS stuff. Hey, dog. We got this silly BCS stuff, and still, okay, so you want to do the BCS. Do the BCS, and then still give us the top 25 in the BCS, all make the playoffs.
But it's like, but we went from the bowl championship series, right?
Yeah.
And that definitely was, picking those two teams definitely was a popularity contest,
100%.
but on the same note, so is what they added three teams, so they added one playoff game to get to the like it doesn't make any sense. Like if you see because and we got to this point because we were talking about the men's tournament,
Yeah.
but like it's not like there are more basketball teams than there are football teams
Yeah.
necessarily. So if
They're
you
almost one to
recognize,
one. They're almost
yeah.
1-1.
Now, granted, not all schools teams are in the same conference for
Right. Right.
each, which is super weird to me. Very confusing. Oh, we're in this conference for this, but this conference for that. I
Oh
think
yeah,
Notre
that
Dame
one.
is one of those. One of their sports is in a conference. Football's their own shit. But if you recognize that that type of playoff is necessary in football or in basketball, why wouldn't it at least
Venus. Yeah.
the 16, the 8? Like, I mean, I'm not even saying go the full spectrum because that could go on forever.
I,
But
I
like,
think their ultimate goal is to match the basketball tournament. I think the ultimate goal of this college football playoff is they want to get to the point where it's 65 teams or so. And I'm like, okay, for basketball, I'm good. I'm good with that because of how they do it. Because that team in basketball, a team can play a game on Thursday and play another game on Saturday. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
In football, you
Yes.
can't. They can only play one game
We
a
would be
week
playing football year round just to get the
just to keep up. Hey, then it would be like football, like soccer. You know what I'm saying? Like all year
Right.
round.
Right.
But real talk, like I definitely see that there should be a cap on the expansion of football. But to get back to what our ultimate point was, and the question was for the segment was, um, is this UConn team the best college basketball team that we've seen since that 06, 05, 06, 06, 07 Florida team? That team consisted of what? Like, I know it was Joakim Noah is the only major name I really remember, and then Billy Donovan was the coach. Um, I would have to say
But
yes.
aren't we comparing it to a team during a time where anyone who was good enough out of high school was just going straight into the NBA
Yeah.
versus now they've got the rules that they do. So in some ways, I think it's not a direct one-to-one comparison
Yeah.
because now you've got players who are playing in college who probably would have gone straight to the pros had they been, back then
Back
at that
then,
time.
yeah.
So I don't know. And also basketball has evolved, right? Like the play has evolved. Everybody's trying to be Steph Curry now. Like some complain he ruined basketball. Most are joking when he
Yeah.
say that, but then you've got Charles Barkley who likes to say that all the time. But it I don't know. It's just they're very different teams, so it's kind of hard to compare them. They're good, both amazing in their own right, but clearly one was not that impression lasting for you
Yeah.
to recognize that they've had this going on for a couple of years. So, like, hey, maybe that's your answer.
Yes, that's my answer for sure. uh, like you said, I don't think we could do a player to player comparison and have it be fair. So yeah, I can agree with you that this is its own
And
kind of
that's why you sit here and say there was only one name we really heard of that was on that team back then, right? Because all the rest of anybody who would have been was already in the NBA.
Yeah, true.
So
Hey, Noah had himself quite a career, so I got to give him credit. Like,
yeah.
I think if not for LeBron, a couple of those, LeBron, but if not for him, I think a couple of those Bulls teams with Derrick Rose and Noah could have won a championship. But oh well, que sera, sera. The past is the past, right? Well,
That
all right,
and
y'all.
if Derrick Rose could have ever stayed healthy.
Yeah, Greg Oden is always one that always blows my mind. That I'm like, I wish he should have been playing for the Trailblazers center. He came around the same time as Roy Hibbert, and was kind of like the same kind of guy. But oh well. So all right, y'all. So we're gonna take it into the commercial break. And we will be back after that to talk a little NBA and the play-in, and then yeah, y'all can read it on the screen. Y'all can see it. Like, yeah, what could possibly be a death sentence for one young man who might have just taken things too far. So we'll see y'all on the flip side of the commercials. I'm Dark Lord 100. That there is O'Malley, and this is the classroom. Peace.
You got to keep it. You got to keep it lovely. You got to keep it. You got to keep it lovely. Success comes right after the struggle. I ain't even giving up on whatever I wanted. The tragedies I've seen, I can't even stomach. Most of y'all weak as shit and would've started running. Every time I make it back to the crib. I'm thankful the most high let me see all of it. Grateful I'm lovely and I've been real with this. Please don't judge me. I'ma stay on my shit. I'ma keep it.
Poetic beat.
This is now versus then. 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 This is now versus then.
You getting on my nerves. You getting on my nerves. Gang, gang, bitch. You getting on my nerves. Gang, gang, bitch. You getting on my nerves. Get your titty, get your titty, get your titty on. Gang, gang, bitch. Get your titty, get your titty, get your titty on. I said what I said. No, please don't tell on me. No, please don't tell the police. Gang, gang, you getting on my nerves. She getting on my nerves.
All right, and we are back to bring you some more sports fun this evening. Hope you're enjoying our fun little show here. About a half hour in, still killing it. I know Agent K28 was watching for a little bit there. I think he still is. What's up, Saint? Shout out to you. All right. So, next subject that's up is the play-in tournament. So we got the Lakers and the Warriors that are both in, along with the Kings and the Pelicans. The Suns managed to climb their way out. You got Tuesday, the Lakers taking on the Pelicans in New Orleans. Also on Tuesday, the Warriors take on the Kings in Sacramento. Then you have on the 17th, on Wednesday, sorry, I put Tuesday there again. On Wednesday, April 17th, the Hawks, who are the 10 seed in the Eastern Conference, will face off against the Bulls. And let's see, that's the Eastern Conference. And then the Heat will take on the 76ers in the 7-8 game. Now, for those of you who don't remember how the new play-in works, basically the two people, the two people that, or the two teams that play for 7-8 are playing for the 7th spot in the playoffs. So whoever wins that game will move into the 7th spot. The loser will play the winner of the 9-10 game for the 8th spot in the playoffs. So everybody gets a shot. So 9-10 play to see who's going to play 7-8. Yeah. Anyway, I just explained it once. I'm not doing it again. So what we're looking at now is with the Lakers in eighth and the Warriors in 10th. They avoided playing each other in the first round. It looked like they were going to be playing each other in that first play-in matchup to see who's going to go on to play the eight. But it looks like the Warriors are going to be playing the Kings in Sacramento, whereas the Lakers are going to be playing the Pelicans in New Orleans. So the question is this. Which of these two teams in their current positions, because season's now over as of today, last games have been played, which team is more likely to make a run in the playoffs? Like, which team is more likely to actually make it into the playoffs?
I mean, I could sit here and clearly the obvious answer for me to say would be the Warriors because, well, I'm a Warriors fan. And that's not just being a delusional Warriors fan. Even though my biggest concern with emphatically giving that answer is that we had the chance Friday night to be in a much different position today than what we are, and we didn't pull that through.
By New Orleans,
Yeah, but given the position New Orleans was in when we played them, right? Like, it's not like I would have felt worse if we had lost to the Jazz.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or to the Trailblazers. So, and here's the thing is that the Warriors' record right now is not indicative of the team that they are.
Right.
Like, if you look at, they have the one of two best records in basketball after the All-Star break, right? And they played some phenomenal basketball. Also, you look at the fact that we were out and down green for a chunk of time, and we need him, right?
Yeah.
If any of those teams can do it, it's the Warriors.
It's definitely the Warriors, yeah.
It really is. And every time that they're counted out, it is kind of like, well, here, let me show you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it could be the Warriors. I really do, but like, I'll be interested to see the Kings how they play. They're not doing as good as I think that they were last year.
Yeah.
So there's that. But this is a one game versus a series too. So like the play-in situation is much different.
Yeah. 100%.
The last play-in didn't quite work so well. So but you know, I think the bigger question, I think if the Warriors can beat the Kings, then they will beat whoever is the loser of the Pelicans-Lakers game. That's how I feel. And I really kind of hope that it's the Lakers, especially after last year.
Yeah.
And our record supersedes them this year. Like, if we hadn't fucked up on Friday,
we'd have been tied with them, and we'd have been sitting in that 8th spot.
First aligned perfectly for us that day, and we just couldn't pull it. We almost did at one point. It looked promising, and then it felt like somebody took their foot off the gas for a second. Steph is really gonna have to be like Steph. He did have a good game the other day. Like he was the only, but he had been struggling to get over 23 points for a little while. We have seen Clay kind of step up, so we need Game 6 Clay from Game 1. So
for 2 games, we need everybody's best.
Yes. So and even if, say, it's the Pelicans, we end up. First of all, I hope it's not the Pelicans, because that also means that the Lakers would have beat the Pelicans, and I really just don't want to see them there. Like, I am so over LeBron. And I don't know what the hell Jeannie Buss is doing down in Los Angeles, but that woman done lost her mind. Like, she is what, like, I would expect that shit from a different franchise,
Yeah.
but you are the Lakers. Your father is rolling over in his grave. Like, and now
Along with one player
there's
down there
talk
who's
again
coming.
firing the coach.
Yep.
Yeah, because he's not having chemistry. Yeah, because LeBron set that precedent.
Yep.
He's been allowed to disrespect that coach blatantly. And you don't think that that's going to impact the rest of the team? That's not the coach. That's LeBron. And now there's this, even glimmer of a thought of getting Bronny in the draft? Oh, hell no. Like, no.
It's
Absolutely not.
everything and anything to please LeBron. And yes, I can sit here and say
it's so
that,
disrespectful to Kobe too, on top of everything else. Like, it is super disrespectful.
well, here's the
like,
thing about it.
Mid-season tournament banners, freaking bubble championships, freaking trying to wear 2 numbers. You know the next thing is getting numbers retired. You were not a Laker. You are a contract player.
And
I'm a Warriors fan who, generally speaking, hates the Lakers. Right? But my dude is a Lakers fan who hates the Lakers right now because he hates LeBron.
Yeah. And yeah, no,
Clearly we've bonded over our hate of LeBron because, well, fuck LeBron is what I always have to say.
Just saying, like, the lady's been straightforward about that since episode 1 of episode 1. So,
I mean, nothing new here.
I've like I said, he's just not impressive to me, and I don't. And here's the thing about it. I was just gonna say this when you were talking about all that the Lakers have been giving him, and kind of like I said, it's been a little disrespectful to Mr. Kobe Bean Bryant, but the thing with it is if all of this was resulting in them finishing top 3 every season in the standings and then making deep runs into the playoffs, maybe losing in the conference championship, so on and so forth, I would say, okay,
swept in the conference championship.
Right. Like, well, okay, yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like, I could see if year in and year out, they've been, in the time he's been there, they've won 1 championship, the bubble championship, the in-season tournament, and they won, and they went to the conference championships last year. And he's been there, what, 6 years, 7 years?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they've done.
And they've demolished the team that they were making.
That would have,
they could have been a championship team right now.
Yes.
Had they not robbed Peter to pay Paul, basically. And then LeBron comes in and he gets rid of young players that threaten him. Right? Like, that's why you see this thing with D'Angelo Russell, right? D'Angelo Russell. And they always, I don't know why they haven't put 2 and 2 together, these announcers that are up LeBron's ass, but they sing his praises, Russell's praises, on games, right, where LeBron isn't playing or he has to step in because of Davis. And it's like, yeah, because LeBron doesn't allow him to have that type of game. You see who LeBron's go-tos are, right? Reeves, Kashim, whatever his name is, right? Because they're not threatening players to him. Because Russell had been being groomed to be part of that team before LeBron got there, right? And then you go and do all this shit to get... You sell everyone and everything to get Davis, and then to get Westbrook, right? And then you blame Westbrook for Westbrook not fitting in well, and it's Westbrook's fault. And then Westbrook gave the biggest fuck you possible when he went and had one of the best games of his life, his first game as a Clipper. So who's the problem? It's not the supporting cast, people.
It can't always be the supporting cast. No. When you go through 3 different teams, 4 different teams, it can't always be the supporting cast.
It's like somebody who continually is in right, complaining about relationship drama and toxic relationships. And at some point, you become the common denominator in all the problems.
Yep.
In every relationship you've had, and there's been the same problem, who is the common denominator?
I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Anyway, let, but I'm like you said, I'm kind of biased. I'm hoping the Warriors, as a fan, make a run at least into the actual playoffs as an 8 seed, because that's about as high as they can get. And then I'll
And
take our chances against Oklahoma
and,
City. Fuck yeah, I'll take our chances.
and
Like,
if the second best, if and I don't even want to throw it out into the universe, should the wrong team win that game,
yeah.
right? The next best thing would then be them beating the Lakers, because that would actually be kind of like
Yeah.
vindication for Kings fans everywhere, right? At least a little bit. From all that back and forth in the late 90s, early aughts.
Hey,
Right.
and Sabonis, if unfortunately the Warriors do
I
lose,
can't stand him though.
Sabonis has had the Lakers number. Like, he puts up big numbers against them. And Anthony Davis, how we don't know, but that boy uses him where almost as bad as Jokic does. Um, this is why I don't understand. Like, I'm sorry, like, any Laker fans out there, like, y'all killing me. Like, because I'm sorry, like, Anthony Davis consistently gets used by Jokic and Sabonis on a regular basis, and yet y'all still come here and tout him as, when healthy, he's the best power forward, and Jokic and them ain't got nothing on him. What are you talking about? The numbers head to head do not support that theory. Like, by
And
any
when's he
stretch of the
healthy?
imagination.
Also, when's he healthy? Like,
Yeah, healthy. When you got to put a caveat like that on it, it tells you everything you need
I mean,
to know.
that's the thing I say all the time. Like, well, I hope he can stay healthy. I mean, which he can't. He can't play a full season.
He can't.
He cannot play a full season. So
the fact that they had to put a cap on how many games you play when you nice. I'll say
to be eligible for the MVP.
Yeah, to win the MVP. I like that, because it's like.
But you
look,
know,
man,
part of why they did that, right?
Why?
Too, and why what's his face's suspension was a certain number of games. John Morant. He was going to be that was one of the reasons for his suspension being the amount of games that it was because then it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
And then he got hurt anyways, but
Fate took him out, and the NBA, like, guess all them guns
learn.
on Instagram.
Y'all learn.
You know,
Clarence
FAFO.
with two parents.
FAFO.
Clarence with two parents.
But all right. But so that brings us around to what we will call the main event of the evening, and that is Jake Paul fights Mike Tyson, July 20th, 2024. It's going to be on Netflix. Paul is 30 years younger than Tyson, has a lot less fights, has won 9 of the 10 fights he's had, 6 of them by knockout. Tyson, of course, we know, with 50 wins and 44 knockouts. This fight should be interesting, to say the least, considering they can't seem to decide whether or not this matchup is going to be an exhibition or an actual matchup, which I guess they were supposed to announce it sometime recently, because they had to file the license for the fight in Texas. So, because I guess it's taking place at Jerry World. But here's what caught me in a recent piece of media. Jake Paul actually says he thinks he can beat Mike Tyson. That he's, quote, going to knock Mike Tyson's teeth out. I said to myself, this isn't a very bright thing for this kid to do. It's just like, I don't understand it. I know we've all seen that video with Mike Tyson sitting there with Jake Paul. And he's basically telling him to his face, like, I'm going to kill you. Like I'm going to hurt you.
Going to end your career.
Right. Now, I did hear from Suave had a face to face with them, Travis, Safe Travels brother, the other day, but he was telling me that I guess like something in Tyson's contract says that like basically he can't just go in there and drop Jake Paul in the first round, like or else he doesn't get paid. Like I'm like, if that's true, like I don't even know if
Okay,
it's gonna
so
be
it's
worth
not going to be
watching.
straight out of prison, Tyson. Is what they're meaning. But in the the funny thing is I think at one point Jake Paul said, like, I've got a strong chin. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you ain't never been hit by Tyson, bruh. Like, I mean, seriously. And I don't care how old Mike Tyson is. I still don't want to get hit by him. 70. I do not want to get hit by Mike Tyson.
uh,
Okay, and should Jake Paul actually be able to land a punch on Mike Tyson, all that's going to do is piss off Mike Tyson. And you're going to wish you hadn't touched him at all. He's going to wish that he's just going to be dancing around that freaking ring like he was Mayweather. Not trying to punch nobody, just trying to dance.
I've heard from grown men that were a lot larger than Jake Paul that getting hit by Mike Tyson is like somebody taking a brick and throwing it at your head. Um, like I don't know about y'all, but I know I would never want to experience getting hit in the head with a brick. Like that's not something that I look forward to. You know that is definitely something that I try to avoid. You know, I try to avoid. But I avoid buildings with bricks sometimes. Like you know, like I'm not trying to like and this kid seems to want to walk right into it because I think the thing about it is that exhibition or not, Tyson may not knock him out, but Tyson's gonna hit him with a couple of, for lack of a better way to say this, a couple of you ain't a real boxer, like hits that are gonna drop him to either his butt or to his knees. But Tyson's not gonna knock him out. I think that especially if what Swab was saying is true and Tyson's under contract, he can't knock him out. Like I doubt Tyson. Well, then you know Tyson's worth millions, so he might just go oopsie and drop the kid in the first round. You know he don't
We
really
are
need the
talking
money.
about somebody who, bites ears, right? Like, and that was in a legitimate
But
boxing
yeah,
match. So, like, I mean,
and,
oops.
and I'm sorry to say it, man. Like Jake Paul, you can be mad at me if you ever see this, man. But you're no Evander Holyfield, bro. Like you're no Evander Holyfield. You're not good enough at the sport of boxing to force Mike Tyson into something frustrating. I think that the one thing that we're gonna see in this fight is that Mike Tyson is gonna control the fight for most of the fight. Mike Tyson is pretty much gonna do what he wants to do. Jake Paul is basically a puppy at the end of a leash that's gonna get pulled and pushed in whatever way Mike Tyson feels like doing so.
Yeah, I mean, back to what I said. Like, I don't give a shit if he's 58 years old. He's still Mike Tyson, and I don't want to get hit by a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, a 72-year-old Mike Tyson, a 104-year-old Mike Tyson. That is still Mike fucking Tyson.
Still
Okay,
Mike
so
Tyson.
oops. Sorry, Jake Paul, but he did say he planned on shutting you up,
Yep.
wanted to end your career. Because here's the problem is, like, I think to begin with, some of it was jovial back and forth,
Yeah.
but Jake Paul being Jake Paul has said some stuff that, while somewhat in jest, was still super disrespectful. Like, this is Mike Tyson.
Yep.
You're
Like
gonna respect that. And
and
if you don't, he's going to make sure that you regret that.
like this isn't Daniel Cormier. This isn't Nate Robinson. This isn't one of these cats that like you can dance around the ring and Muhammad Ali with him and have some fun. Like no, this is Mike and Tyson, bro.
Yeah.
Like Mike don't play, and you get in there trying to get under Mike's skin. You might just get under Mike's skin, and again, FAFO, bro. Like if I was you, and
And,
trust
and
me, This ain't one of those situations where you can talk a bunch of shit leading up to the matchup and then get in the ring with Mike and be like, "We was all playing. It's all good, Mike."
Well, and I think there's also some people out there who so much dislike Jake Paul and all his antics that they would pay Tyson the money he would lose should he knock him out, right? Like, he's gonna get paid either way, right? Don't worry about it, bro. We got you, right? Like, just go out there and handle him.
For sure.
Because he's gotten way too big for his britches. It's just, it has gotten to the point where I feel like it's starting to make, not starting, it is making a mockery of, like, I don't care how many wins you have. To me, your wins aren't legitimate wins. Like, it isn't. So whatever.
Yeah,
it's one area where I don't necessarily disagree with Dana White, and I hate that I'm actually saying that, because but yeah, he's not good for the sport.
Not at all.
Like, I don't even feel like the Mayweather McGregor shit was good for the sport, especially if you weren't. Yeah, and especially, like, I would have been more on board with it if you then turned around. Okay, we're gonna do one boxing match, and we're gonna also do one UFC match, right? And then we can go from there, because that would have turned out much differently in the octagon. Because McGregor, I mean, at the end of the day, he can box, but he's not a boxer.
Right.
He's not one of those UFC fighters that started off a boxer, right? Like, so that just was stupid. And so I don't disagree with some of this stuff. Can we just leave the people in their respective sports and allow the people who have actually worked and earned towards these things, and not, like, make a mockery of sports that were at one point really loved? And I think it like cheapens for the other fighters who are legitimately fighting right now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's going to wrap us up now for our major four topics. Now for the surprise at the end of the show that I've been promising y'all, and that is the return of our opinion segments. For those of you who listen to us as a podcast, we used to have opinion segments. One was mine, the Double K's Classroom. The other was Rise of O'Malley. And so we're going to kick off the brand new Twitch version of our opinion pieces with the Rise of O'Malley. And yeah, just trust me, stick around for this. And this will close the show. So we'll see y'all in a few. All right, you're up.
Oakland lost the Warriors. Oakland's losing the A's. No, Oakland tried to do what they could within what was right, right? The Oakland is still paying on Mount Davis, people. Like, it's still paying for a team that's not even there anymore. And we're talking about, like, an area that's been hard hit economically, where funding was cut to programs. And now you've got this going on in Vegas. And this is where I get really all warm and fuzzy right now, because the people of Vegas agree with me. And we might be seeing some karma, because the people of Las Vegas right now, mind you, who Vegas just several years ago gave $750 million to the Raiders to help buy their, make their stadium when their school system is failing. Horrible test scores. Lots of their other systems are failing. And maybe this is the social worker in me, but I really feel like education, healthcare, mental health, addiction support, um, safe communities, all of that kind of stuff is far more important than football. Sometimes some things are bigger than sports, and it shouldn't be on a city to pay for a team. If that owner does not have their own money to pay for a stadium, sell the team so that they can get an owner who can pay, instead of then people wanting to blame the city for not giving them money. So the residents of Vegas right now kind of feel the same way. And right now, Schools Not Stadiums is suing to put a measure on the ballot that's going to allow the citizens of Las Vegas to vote on whether or not they should be giving any kind of stadium money to any kind of owners of any kind of teams. And what this could mean is that Fisher and the A's won't get their funding. They're already not going to be able to build on the Tropicana site, supposedly. There's a lot of stuff going on. So at the end of the day, the citizens of Vegas agree. I'm not going to just say with me, because there's a lot of other people, especially like hardcore Oakland fans, people from Oakland, and elsewhere, even in other markets, right, who are shouting all the time that it's not on the city, it should be on the team. And so now it's looking like that the A's may actually be homeless in general. So you already fucked off Oakland. Supposedly you were supposed to be, moving to Sacramento temporarily. I don't think that that's actually been finalized yet. So if Vegas votes, what are you going to do, Fisher? Are you going to prove that it was never about, I mean, because you say it's not necessarily about the money or any of this or any of that. And so if you're forced to pay for your own stadium outright, are you going to stay with going to Vegas? Are you going to try to mend fences in Oakland? Whatever happens, this is karma. And I don't understand how any A's fans are still a fan of this team after having been repeatedly disrespected by this organization year after year after year. They clearly don't care about the fans. They care about money, and they have since Moneyball. And nothing has changed with the way that they develop players and then sell them to the highest bidder. They're a glorified farm team. So I don't know what you're expecting to get when you go to Vegas, because you're not going to bring your fans, just like a lot of the Oakland Raider fans didn't follow. So here you go. Owners, if you can't afford arenas, stadiums, ballparks, sell it to someone who can. Because cities and towns, especially those with economies that have been hard hit and all of that, and struggling school systems and struggling everything else, nah, that money needs to be going to fund people. Like, and then you wonder why crime rates go up. Well, because you took the money to give to rich people to make them richer. So fuck off with all of that. And I hope the people of Vegas vote. I hope the Nevada Supreme Court allows this to happen. I hope the voters in Vegas vote to keep this money from happening. And I hope Fisher is shit out of luck and forced to sell, and somebody figures out something to do.
All right. So that'll close us out. See y'all next week.